Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Welcome back to my channel. Week 2 of being consistent. Because like I say, I've not got plague anymore, which is awesome. I think I did promise, what's her name? Pamela Hupp this week, but Pamela Hupp's next week. That is a promise. It is next week. I'm still working on the script and it will be done when it's done because I want it to be good, and I do really think it's going to be in 2 parts. So if that's going to irritate you, please let me know and I'll try and fit it in one. But I feel like videos don't do as well when they're like over half an hour long, so I might split it depending on how it kind of goes. So today I'm doing a case that I believe I recorded it before. I know what's going to happen. I feel like I'm going to finish this, edit it, go to upload it and realise I've actually already covered it, but I have checked twice and I can't see it, but I do remember filming it, so God knows what happened there. I don't know if it was one of the ones that my microphone was muted for, or I had severe eyebrow blindness. I'm not sure. It was one of them. I don't know. But today's case, I do want to pre-warn you, is genuinely horrific. There is a lot of trigger warnings for it, and it is just a very, very heavy case. So if it's something you don't want to deal with today, totally get that. And I'll see you for something slightly more lighthearted. It's hard to be lighthearted when you're covering true crime, but I'll try my best. Also, I've tried to position my microphone to cover the stain on my jumper because I really can't be bothered to get changed and it's really cold in here. So if you can see my stain, just keep it to yourself. Today, I'm going to be covering the case of Katie Fusco. I found this online years ago and I think I thought it was like a creepypasta kind of story because I just thought there's no way this can actually be a real story, and it is, and it's horrifying. Trigger warnings for today include incest, abuse, suicide, death of a child and grooming. So if any of those are things you don't want to deal with at the moment, that's totally fine. I'll see you for a slightly more lighthearted video soon. Make sure you look after yourselves. Trigger warning as always. No, content warning as always, strong language. In 1955, then 20-year-old Stephen Pladl, I think that's how it's said, met and groomed a 15-year-old girl over the internet named Alyssa. Stephen lived in New York and Alyssa lived in Texas, so they were a reasonable distance from each other, I think. The pair chatted online for quite a while and then eventually did meet up and start a sexual relationship. And Alyssa actually ran away from home to move in with Stephen in New York at 15. So alarm bells from the get-go. Alyssa became pregnant when she was just 16 years old and gave birth to their first child on the 17th of January 1998, who they named Denise. According to Alyssa, Stephen abused Denise and would like pinch her when she was a baby. She was a defenseless little baby, and he would pinch her until she had black and blue bruises all over her little body, and would shut her in like the freezer thing, like a freezer, chest freezer, until she nearly suffocated. So he was an abusive bellend from day dot. He would also cover her mouth when she was crying as well to stop her crying, and this obviously would nearly suffocate her as well. Stephen stopped Alyssa from helping their daughter, and it was quite clear that she was absolutely terrified of him, because if he was doing this to a baby, he was also doing horrendous shit to her as well. Stephen also refused to get a job. He didn't want to work, so poor Alyssa is a mum, a housewife, a wife and the breadwinner. She's just doing everything because Stephen does absolutely nothing. And he would often tell her that if she ever tried to leave him, he would kill himself, which he's just a horrendous human being, and he gets so much worse. Alyssa eventually came to the very hard decision to put Denise up for adoption. She didn't feel like she would be safe or have a chance at a very good life living with them, and she was also terrified of what Stephen would do. So she decided to put her up for adoption. She wanted to give her the best life she possibly could, and that didn't involve her staying with herself and Stephen. Anthony and Kelly Fusco adopted Denise, and they actually changed her name to Katie Fusco. Anthony and Kelly lived in a small trailer park community around 80 miles away from New York, and Katie just blended straight in with their biological children, and they were said to be just a nice, normal family from people in the community that knew them. Katie, who was Denise, Katie was now how we're going to refer to her, was described as a very happy, lovely, artistic young lady. She was a vegetarian, she was passionate about animals, she was into cheerleading. She was very artistic, like I said, and would often draw like comic book strips. And she would eventually go on to, she wanted a career in advertising. Katie did know when she was growing up that she had been adopted. She wasn't bothered by this, but she was naturally quite curious about her biological parents. In August of 2016, when Katie had turned 18 years old, she reached out to her parents, her biological parents, via Facebook. And they met up in North Carolina, and it said that Alyssa and Stephen welcomed her back with open arms. They were really happy to hear from her. Alyssa and Stephen did end up staying together, and in 2007 and in 2012 did go on to have other children that they did keep because they felt they were in a better situation. In 2017, Katie was due to start college. However, she decided to kind of delay this, and she actually decided to move in with Stephen and Alyssa and their other children and kind of try and build a relationship. Her adopted parents were quite apprehensive about this, but they figured she was an adult, there wasn't much they could do to stop her, and felt she could make her own decisions. By the time Katie moved in, her siblings were 11 and 6 years old. So Stephen and Alyssa were currently sleeping in separate bedrooms to each other, and then shortly after this decided to separate completely. So I'm not really sure why they let Katie move in with them, knowing that this was kind of the environment that she'd be walking into. Alyssa said that living with Stephen was like walking on eggshells, and she'd just suffered so many years of abuse from him that she'd just kind of had enough. Alyssa did sit Katie down and tell her exactly why she had decided to give her up for adoption, and spoke about Stephen's abuse to her when she was a child. And it seemed that Katie didn't really have any reaction to this. I don't know if it didn't register or she weren't bothered, like she just didn't really seem to have any reaction. 2 months after Katie moved in, Stephen's style kind of started to change. He was trying to be, down with the kids. He'd grown his hair to like shoulder length. Has he shaved his beard or grown a beard? He shaved his beard. He'd started dressing in like skinny jeans and a bit like kind of alternative gothy kind of style. He seemed to be mirroring Katie's style, which is creepy. Stephen then started to sleep in Katie's bedroom on the floor, and Alyssa was very concerned about this. She said it was weird and inappropriate and just not right, and Stephen told her it was to mind her own fucking business, and then stormed out the house with Katie, but obviously eventually did come back. But it's just odd. In November of 2016, Alyssa did move out of the family home, and Alyssa and Stephen shared custody of the two children. She did take the children with her, but they would go back and visit Stephen, and Katie decided to continue living with Stephen. Around 2 months later, Alyssa was reading her 11-year-old's diary, which sketch. And she wrote that Stephen had told her to stop referring to Katie as their sister and start calling her your mum. And the 11-year-old little girl had also gone on about Katie's pregnant belly and drawn a picture of her with a pregnant belly. Alyssa, obviously horrified, concerned, and everything in between, rang Stephen immediately and went, "What the fuck is going on?" and asked if Katie was pregnant. And Stephen was like, "Yeah, she is. We're in love." He was like so blasé about the situation, forgetting that is his literal daughter, like his actual biological daughter. So Katie and Stephen had started a sexual relationship pretty much as soon as Alyssa had moved out, and they had plans to get married as soon as Alyssa and Stephen's divorce had been finalised, which is just insane. You kind of can't blame Katie in this situation because she's very young, she's being groomed, she's being manipulated, and she probably doesn't feel like this man is her dad because she's only just met him and he's given her all this love and affection, and I can see how it could be very confusing for her. But Stephen's got no excuse. This is bizarre behaviour. He knows that's his daughter. I get you haven't seen her in a hot minute, but that's your daughter. The two younger siblings were obviously seeing this in the house, and they had been told not to say anything to anyone, not to tell them that they'd seen him sharing a bed and things like this. So they knew that it was wrong. Like, he knew it was wrong because he's telling everyone not to say anything. Alyssa obviously was kicking off at this, saying that he was sick and that's your child, this is disgusting, this is wrong. And she did call the police because it's incest. And no arrests were made, which is insane. Katie and Stephen eventually moved into their own place in Nightingale, North Carolina. Yes. In July 2017, Katie and Stephen applied for a marriage licence, obviously missing out the part where they're fucking related. They didn't mention that was her dad. And on the 20th of July 2017, they got married. And her adopted parents were there. And his mum was there. And they were all smiling in the wedding photos like this is totally normal and they're just happy, like so happy for this wedding. And it's just the most bizarre, sickening thing I've ever seen in my life, because why on earth were you there? Why are you supporting this? Why are you smiling like this is okay, like this is normal? Like it's mind-bending. Like what? Apparently they all thought there was nothing they could do about it, so they just thought we'll just go along with it. But no, it's just no. There's no other, no. Stephen absolutely took advantage of Katie, and I don't think, like I said earlier, that she ever saw him as a dad, as a father, and he just manipulated the hell out of her and groomed her, just like he'd done to Alyssa all those years ago, because she was only 15 years old, and he groomed her, and he's just now done the same thing to it genuinely flips my stomach, because it's just the most disgusting thing ever. However, on the 1st of September 2017, Katie gave birth to a little baby boy named Bennett. And as far as I know, he was born as normal as you can be, considering it's your dad's grandson and son all in one. January 2018, thankfully, finally, they were both arrested for incest. Thank you. Someone's paying attention. Someone's doing something about this. However, after seeing a judge, they were both released on bail. And Stephen's lawyer put through the most insane defence maybe one of the most insane ones I've ever heard, because it just makes me want to stick my head through a mirror. So Stephen's lawyer said that there was no allegations from Katie's side that she was ever pressured into this relationship. It was completely consensual. She was in on it. She was happy with it. They were both in a vulnerable situation, and they never knew each other before. So that's how they've formed this bond and relationship, and that's why it's not wrong. This is the kicker. He was so head over heels in love with her that his love for her outweighs the issue of them being related. No, it fucking doesn't. Sorry, it's not funny. It's just the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life, because just because you love them that much, it outweighs you being related? Absolutely not. No. You cannot marry your daughter. You cannot have babies with your daughter. So Katie went home to New York to be with her adopted parents, thank God, and the pair were ordered not to have contact with each other, which was necessary. And it seemed that once Katie was out of the situation, she kind of realised exactly what it was, and she then wanted out of the relationship and didn't want anything to do with Stephen anymore. I think once she was separated from him, she got clarity on the situation, realised that it was wrong, realised that she had been manipulated and groomed, and that she needed out. Just when you thought you couldn't hate Stephen anymore, I promise you can hate him even more. So the April of 2018, Katie got in touch with Stephen and said she wanted out. She wanted to end it for good. And this did not go well. So the 11th of April 2018, Stephen went to his mum's house to pick up baby Bennett, because that's how he would pick him up, because they were ordered not to have contact with each other. He took him back to his house and Stephen suffocated poor 7-month-old baby Bennett. An official cause of death was never released for baby Bennett, but there was no injury marks on his body, so it was assumed that he had been suffocated by Stephen. And Stephen then didn't even do anything nice with his body, not that I expected him to, because he's an absolute piece of shit. He put him in the wardrobe. The next day, on April 12th, he drove 500 miles to New York, which is obviously where Katie is at the moment. He stopped at a liquor store and then just sat outside Katie's house like an absolute fucking freak. He watched Katie and her adopted dad, Tony, leave for work. He was dropping her at work. And Stephen followed them until they eventually got to a stop sign in the road. Minutes later, the police received numerous calls from witnesses to a man getting out of his car at the stoplight and just opening fire on this car. Stephen had pulled up his truck next to Tony's truck and just shot in the car several times. Both Katie and Tony received several gunshot wounds to their upper torso and heads, and they were declared dead at 8:45 a.m. After this, Stephen called his mum, because he's a man, to tell her that he had killed baby Bennett, he was in a wardrobe, and he just killed Tony and Katie. He said he'd put the key under the mat, and I do actually have the 911 call, which I'm going to play now.
911, address of the emergency.
Yes. My son just called me, and he told me oh my God, in North Carolina, he killed his baby, and he's in the house.
Okay, you said that he told you he killed his baby? Okay, ma'am, listen to me. What's your name? Okay, tell me exactly what happened.
He's not home. His wife broke up with him over the phone yesterday, and he told me, she's in New York, and he told me he was on his way. He called me last night and said he's on his way. He's going to bring the baby to her, and then he was coming back. And he just
okay.
He said he killed his wife, he killed her father, and I can't even believe this is happening.
And did this happen in Nightdale?
No, his wife and father are in New York.
Okay, so the incident
but
actually...
he left the baby dead when he left.
Okay, where did he leave the baby?
Okay, he said it was in the...
What's your son's name? What's his last name?
Same as mine.
When did this happen?
He said he left last night. He called me, I forget, maybe about 7 last night, and said he was on his way to New York. He was going to bring to his wife and give it to her, and then he'd be back. And he called me this morning. I just got off the phone just a couple of minutes ago, and he told me to call the police, that I shouldn't go over there.
Okay, so the son is so your son is not there?
No, the house is empty. He said he put a key under the front mat. A key to get into the house under the front mat.
Did he say how he did it, or what?
No,
he did?
And I didn't ask him. I didn't want to know. Oh my God, he's such a wonderful little.
Okay, hold on just a second, okay? Okay.
Hello?
Okay, I'm still here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get you over to Raleigh Communications, okay? Let me talk first when I call, okay, so I can kind of give them an idea of what was going on, and then I'm going to let you speak with a telecommunicator, okay?
All right.
All right, hold on for me, okay?
Okay.
The police found Stephen around 9:15 a.m. and he had taken his own life in his vehicle. Alyssa has come out and talked a lot about this case and obviously how it had impacted her and her life, and said about Stephen how he was never actually sexually abusive towards her but was mentally and physically abusive, and that he had an extensive gun collection as well. When he was originally arrested as well, his gun collection was seized, so it's not actually clear where he got this gun from, if he'd taken it out in Alyssa's name or not, we don't know. And being the massive toxic person he is, he couldn't live without Katie, so he wouldn't let her live either, which is just awful because she was so young, and I feel like she just had a really shit time, and I don't blame her in this at all. I think she was manipulated, I think she was groomed, and I think Tony is on fire in hell. He is just one of the most awful people that I've ever wrote about. But yeah, it's a very short case today. Hope it didn't traumatise you too much. I do know it was a lot, but that is it from me today. I need a positive thought. thought? I'll tell you what my positive thought is. Crocs. I got Croc slippers for Christmas and a little plastic thing came off. So now like the flappy thing's flapping all over the place. So I just messaged them and said, can I have the little plastic thing? They were like, we'll send you a whole new pair of Crocs. Best thing ever. If you have Crocs on a break, message Crocs, they'll sort you out. 10 out of 10. So that's my positive thought of the day. Make good choices. Be wary of men. Don't have relationships with your daughter. It's not right. Don't get murdered. I'll see you next week. Love you, bye. Oh god, I can't wear that. It's got a stain on it. I put it there. Can you see the stain? Just insane. What? No. It genuinely flips my stomach. Grandson and son all in one. Just the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. No! You cannot have babies with your daughter. Woosa. Hello. I think my dog's eating my squashies. Hector, no. Little shit bag. Little shit. Give me 2 minutes, mate. Hector! Stop it!